For the longest time, we've had this really simple story we tell ourselves about how our brains age. But what if I told you that story is, well, completely wrong? Yeah, let's get right into it because our whole understanding of brain development is being rewritten as we speak, revealing a life story with 5 totally distinct and fascinating chapters.
So let me just ask you this. When do you think your brain is really a grown-up? Maybe you're thinking, oh, it's got to be 20 or 25, right? Well, the real answer is so much more complicated, and honestly, a lot cooler than we ever thought.
So for ages, this was the accepted wisdom, right? The old story you see there on the left. It's this simple little arc. You grow, you hit your peak around 25, and then it's all downhill from there. It's kind of depressing, huh? But now, some really groundbreaking research is showing us something totally different. This new story on the right. It's not just a simple line. It's more like a novel with some major plot twists.
So on our journey today, we're going to follow this brand new map. We'll start with how scientists even figured this out. Then we'll walk through all 5 chapters: the foundation, the great pivot, the long plateau, and the final chapters. And then we'll wrap it all up by talking about what this whole journey means for you.
So how in the world did scientists get this new map? Well, it comes from this massive study where they analyzed something called diffusion imaging, which is basically a super high-tech way to see the brain's wiring. And they didn't just look at a few brains. They studied over 4,000 people, from newborn babies all the way to 90-year-olds. That kind of data set is what gave them this incredible detailed picture.
So the key concept here, the thing they were really looking at, is called brain topology. The easiest way to think about it is like your brain's internal wiring diagram. It's not just about the different parts of your brain, but how they're all connected, how organized and efficient that whole network is.
And boom, here it is. This is the big headline from all that research. They found 4 massive turning points in our lives at age 9, 32, 66, and 83. These aren't just random birthdays. They are the exact moments where the whole trajectory of our brain's development takes a sharp turn, creating these 5 totally distinct chapters.
All right, let's dive into chapter 1. This is from birth all the way up to age 9. We're calling it the foundation.
Okay, so you'd think this early stage is all about growth, right? Adding more and more stuff, but actually, it's just as much about getting rid of things. This whole period is about consolidation. Your brain goes through this huge process called synaptic pruning. It's literally trimming away the connections it doesn't need to make the ones that are left more efficient. It's like a sculptor chipping away at a block of stone to reveal the incredible statue inside.
So, what's so special about age 9? Why is that the first big turning point? Well, it's no coincidence. It lines up almost perfectly with the start of puberty and all those huge changes we go through, cognitively, behaviorally, you name it. It's a real shift, both inside the brain and out.
All right, that brings us to chapter 2, which runs from age 9 all the way to 32. And the scientists have a great name for this one, the Great Pivot.
And it's called the Great Pivot for a reason. The trend we just saw completely flips on its head. So after spending those first 9 years cleaning house and specializing, now your brain starts doing the opposite. It goes into this long phase of increasing network integration. All those different specialized regions start talking to each other more and more, weaving together that complex web that makes up the adult brain.
And all of this building and connecting leads us to one really critical age, 32. Now, according to this research, this is not just another birthday. This is the single biggest, most significant turning point for your brain structure in your entire life. That's huge.
I mean, listen to how the researchers themselves put it. They note the large shift in trajectory that happens here. So what does that really mean? It means that right around 32, your brain hits its peak of efficiency. The building phase, that period of increasing integration, comes to an end, and a whole new chapter begins.
And that new chapter is chapter 3, which happens to be the longest one of all. From 32 to 66, you enter what's called the long plateau.
And just like the name suggests, this is a time of incredible stability. You know all those fast-paced changes from your youth? They really slow down. And your brain just starts, well, using the super efficient network it spent the last 20-plus years building. And this makes so much sense when you think about it, right? This neurological stability lines up perfectly with what so many of us feel in our own lives during this time. That feeling of stability in our careers, our personalities, and our skills.
But of course, the story doesn't end at 66. After that, we enter the final chapters. And the key thing to remember here is that this isn't just about decline. It's about a strategic reorganization.
So in these later years, the brain actually starts to become more modular. It's almost like it's shifting back towards having more specialized independent teams working on things. And this reorganization happens right alongside other major health shifts, which really just goes to show how deeply connected our brain's wiring is to our overall health and well-being.
This chart is really cool because it shows how the brain is constantly changing its strategy. So when we're young, the name of the game is centrality. It's all about creating these big, super-connected hubs for learning everything. But later on, the strategy switches to segregation, making more specialized, independent modules. The big takeaway here? Your brain is incredibly smart, and it's always adapting its game plan.
And this is a really fascinating twist. It turns out that after you hit 83, your chronological age, just the number of years you've been alive, becomes a way worse predictor of what your brain's wiring looks like. So what does that suggest? It suggests that in very, very late life, other things, your lifestyle, your genetics, your health, start to play a much bigger role than just the calendar. Okay, so we've just taken a whirlwind tour through these 5 chapters. Let's zoom out for a second and really think about what this new map of our brain's journey means for us.
And here it is, the whole story in one place. Your brain's life in 5 incredible acts. You've got the foundation, the great ascent, the long plateau, the period of reorganization, and finally, late life, each one with its own purpose.
So, when you boil it all down, what are the big takeaways from all of this? Number 1, and this is a big one, your brain never stops changing. It's not static. Number 2, every single phase of your life has its own unique neurological purpose. Whether it's building or stabilizing or reorganizing, it's all part of the plan. And number 3, aging isn't just a simple, sad decline. It is a complex, strategic reorganization of an incredibly powerful system.
Look, this new science hands us a totally new way of looking at our own lives. It proves that no matter how old you are, your brain is right there with you on this incredible dynamic journey. So I'll leave you with this question. Knowing that your brain is always, right now, in the middle of writing its next chapter, what are you going to do with yours?